G'day and welcome back to Project Twin VNT. In the last episode, I tried to remove the engine and gearbox, but got distracted, making a nice set of exhaust manifolds. Now that little side job is out of the way, I can get back to what I was originally doing, which was dropping the gearbox. But before I do that, I'll just give my clunky old ratchet a quick service. Right, we'll start with removing both of the seats. And the center console. Get all the rubber boots out of the way. Here's a good visual of why you have to push for neutral on the transfer case lever. 2 high, 4 high, neutral, 4 low. Next, remove the levers. Position the car under the hoist. Drop it down. It's becoming apparent that my low profile load leveler is too low profile, but I can fix that with some longer eye bolts. There we go, that's about as space efficient as you're going to get. With the engine supported on the chain block, I can now separate it from the gearbox. Then painstakingly lower the gearbox with these 3 jacks. Now we're getting somewhere. To give me any chance of getting this engine over the radiator support panel, I'm going to have to remove the springs. What do you reckon? Replicate this on the other body and drive it around as a lowrider? That's already improved my odds quite a bit. So let's take it up to the roof. Bugger. The engine's now as high as this setup allows, and it still doesn't clear this radiator support. I could drop the air out of the tyres or even take the wheels off completely, but once it's high enough, I want to be able to push this body back by hand. Instead, I'm just going to cut this panel out, and yes, I do realise that means I'll have to do it to the other body too, and then come up with a way of bolting it back in again. I don't have to be gentle with this body, but it's good practice for when I have to do it to the other one, so I better remove all the stuff that's in the way. I was too excited about getting the engine out to do this cut in slow motion. Finally, I can push this body off into the sunset. Ain't she a thing of beauty? I had to throw the turbos back on and see what it looked like out in the open. Yep, still awesome. After lifting it up again and removing the 34 sump bolts, I've separated the sump from the block for 2 reasons. I did want to run my oil drain to this little ledge here because I thought it looked neat. It is, however, below the oil level of the sump. Some people say this is a big no-no, while others run theirs to a banjo bolt on the sump plug. If the crankcase is at atmospheric pressure, it shouldn't make a difference, but it only takes a small amount of blow-by for this to not be the case. So how much pressure do you need in your crankcase to back up an oil drain line? That's easy. Multiply the density of the oil, about 0.9, by gravity, about 10, by this distance here. That equates to about 3 kPa, or about 3% above atmospheric pressure. That's not much, and I didn't want to take the risk. so I just moved it above the oil line and then welded in this piece of scrap checker plate over the hole I'd already cut. After a few coats of black zinc, stick it back on the car. The weapon of choice here is a regular drill with a 1/4 inch socket extension gripped in the chuck. Another point of much internet debate is which of these engines had oil squirters. A jet of oil sprayed onto the underside of the piston is much more effective at removing transient heat than the water jacket around the cylinder. This allows you to run more boost and therefore make more power. I wasn't sure whether mine had them or not, so while I had it in the air, I bet my life on my welds and stuck my head under it, and yes, it does. So that's great, it means I don't have to make any. That'll do for episode 3. The engine and gearbox are finally out of the donor vehicle, and the sump is ready to receive the turbo's effluent. Thanks for watching.